Okay, this was a great finale for Smile Down the Runway. I thought I knew what I wanted to see out of this fashion show, but this episode quickly showed me I had no idea what I wanted to see because out of all the styles that I saw for clothing, out of all the participants, to be honest, Aino had my favorite designs. I thought because for me, like, I really like simple or just completely crazy. And his entire harmony style of having very standard kind of like it's elegant, it's simple, and then you have the most out there and outlandish designs. And I love that contrast. I was like, that's exactly what I like. So I'm like, you know what? I think that's who I'm going to root for. I think he deserves to win. I think in terms of just what I like in terms of the apparel, that's who I liked. And then Kokoro wins, and then Chuki wins, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I was not expecting that. To be honest though, them winning is probably for the best because if we take into consideration Iketo winning would just feel like an asshole because he is an amateur. He hasn't even left high school yet. There is no way that he should be able to beat someone like Ayano who is way above his league. Is he talented? Sure, that's why he got 11th place or whatever. But Ayano is the most talented in that entire school. But the fact that he withdrew because he didn't get 53 buyers, I thought was incredibly interesting because it goes to show who he is as a person. He has pride. He's not someone who will just like get wins and just completely do his own thing where he could start his own brand right now, but if he feels like he's lesser than his grandmother, he'll just work for his grandmother. And that's something I really like, and I think it's very easy to look at a character like Aino and say he's scummy or he's manipulative or he does all these things, but I think by the end of this episode, it really does highlight that him and Iketo have a really good friendship. They are rivals. They are someone who are going to butt heads with each other, but they have respect for each other and push each other to be better than they currently are. That's why characters like Chuki who come in and say, like, I'm happy I beat your ass, we don't feel this hostility, but rather you need those people to challenge you and make you feel like you're not perfect, you're not everything here, you're talented, but you got a long way to go. And you need people to keep you kind of being like, okay, I won this time, oh shit, you won this time, and this back and forth until you fully reach your goals and dreams, and even then you want to still feel like you're not the best you can be. So, seeing how they did this, the fact that arguably, and I mean, if we really look at it logically, the most talented person withdrew because he felt like he didn't win in terms of what he wanted to do. Makes total sense. Who was the next best one? Honestly, yeah, Kokoro. I mean, in terms of apparel, in terms of like what I loved about it, I would say her and Ikito's designs were more or less the same for me. I think they definitely both had a similar appeal to them, but I think in terms of just pure style and grace, the way she used Chiyuki on stage, honestly, probably does deserve a win. But it is interesting how the only real people who got buyers in this episode was actually Iketo as well as Aino. I think it goes to show that based on how they end this and how they're all kind of working together here, I mean, Chiyuki now has an official magazine modeling job. I mean, Kokoro doesn't have to go back to being a model, she can actually focus in on being a designer. And the fact that we have people like Iketo or Aino and just like all the characters who we've either worked with or kind of been separated against, it just feels like it got brought to such a satisfying stopping point that should the anime never get a second season, that's a pretty damn good ending. But as I've said for many, many weeks now, I give anime basically a year. If I don't hear anything after a year and I'm very much dying to see more, at that point I absolutely will check out its source material. Smile Down the Runway is surprising for sure, because there's a lot of anime I enjoy more than Smile Down the Runway in this anime season, but there's only a couple that have me craving its source material, which is very interesting. I'm definitely going to hold on hope for a second season for sure, but if it doesn't get one, that manga is calling my name. I mean, just watching the show progress, and it's just such a simple song playing, but I thought it set the mood. I mean, Aino is just so good at what he does. The fact that he started off with just a plain shirt that's just marketing to say, hey, you're gonna want to buy my designs. This is the most basic bitch shit ever, but people love to wear merchandise of someone that they love. The name, the company, things like that. And then you just see everything after that. It was great, I have to say. I mean, there's probably going to be people who look at a lot of his designs and say, why would you wear that? I think the craziest of his designs are just super cool. And then there's so many that are just very casual and simple, but I like simplistic beauty as well. So for me, he had my favorite apparel without a doubt in my mind. And it's interesting how you can tell this is a very skilled person. He's someone who just radiates authority, but the fact that he only got 52, not 53 buyers, and you have people who are telling Iketo that, like, you're the reason, if you would have worked with him, and Honestly, it's not wrong. He is very talented, and he probably could have fixed that one dress, which might have got him a couple of extra buyers. But the thing with it is I'm glad these characters are chasing their dreams in the way that they see fit, rather than just someone saying you should be a pattern maker, you should be a model, you should be this or that. Instead, people are saying, this is what I want to do, and I'll take the failures as learning experiences. For the longest time throughout this festival, I thought it was going to be like I was root for Iketo, but I'm really, really glad he failed. I'm glad he didn't get top 10, and it sounds weird to say, but after it was like announced, I was like, are you kidding me? This man failed? Which is not really a failure because, I mean, pretty much everyone did great, but I'm glad. He is an amateur. He is someone who shouldn't be naturally able to compete to the same level of Ayano or even Kokoro, if I'm being honest. But the fact that he was able to put up a fight and come damn close, that shows not only does he have natural talent, but he just needs to basically try more, try harder, get more work experience, get more life experience, go to a school like someone like Ayano, which he already has the offer to do so while doing an internship. It's great to see that characters aren't just being handed things on a silver platter, which then in return makes their character arcs worth rooting for, because just because Iketo is a main character doesn't mean he's going to slam dunk everything to victory. It doesn't mean that Shuki will just have a perfect magazine job for her entire life. I like how characters actually fail more than they succeed, and it makes rooting for them exceptionally easy. Anytime I saw a new piece of clothing on this runway, it felt different. Not only just because the design was clearly different, but the way they would cut away and just start at the bottom, work the way up, or look at the face of the models. You just felt like rather than you were saying, oh, this model was a person and an actress, no, you're just like, you saw the beauty because a person was wearing the clothing, but most importantly, you focused on the clothing, which, if we've learned anything from Smile Down the Runway, is that the models aren't supposed to be the focus, but rather how the model brings out the aura of the clothing, and then afterwards, you're like, oh shit, that model really did well. You want to hire her for your brand because you know she's going to bring out the best of your apparel. That's something that's super interesting with me, because this episode had a lot of just like, here's a design, we're going to look at it, we're going to do some panning techniques, we're going to do some cutaway fade to black sort of situations, but it was so effective with getting it just emotionally engaging where you were lighting up the same way the audience were. And the simple idea of just such a basic song, but how it just brings out this magical aura, you kind of wanted to give a standing ovation the same way the characters were after Aino kind of crushed his victory. And really, it was his victory, just he is a very prideful fellow, and 52 buyers was not good enough for him. Smile Down the Runway definitely, I've seen a lot of people say it's not the flashiest, and therefore, they find it a little underwhelming. I don't. I mean, you can look at so many anime that don't move all that much, but they have the magical moments where it counts, and just the way the sound production kind of blends in and compensates for a lot of things that maybe you don't like about the visuals. It just brought it to a very stunning production. If they give me a season 2 with even more animation, even more just high quality fidelity, absolutely I'm going to cherish it. But if they give me a season 2 looking and feeling like this current season, I would not be complaining in the slightest, because there's something about the way they use colors and directing to really capture such a magnificent aura. This was definitely one of those shows that rather than sparkling and kind of dazzling a scene with Sakuga, just look how we're going to do this crazy animation for a walkway. Instead, it was very much to the book standard anime directing, but the way they used cuts is really damn effective. This is one of those shows that I thought would probably be good, but ended up amazing to me. It was something that just had a smile on my face, and what's really weird to me is I usually like walking out of an anime season. Almost every anime I watch, whether it's a sort of cliffhanger or a decent stopping point, I usually am pretty satisfied. I'm not one of those people who pulls their hair out. Even though pretty much all the anime that I've started finishing up, and most series are pretty much finished up as of the recording of this review, it feels weird walking out of winter 2020 more so than others. This is a season where it gets the, oh, it's a dry season because there's not 5 mainstream shows with explosions, because people ignore the Somali and the Forest Spirits. They ignore the Smile Down the Runways of the season because it doesn't have mainstream buzz. Leaving this season, honestly, is a lot more sad for me than most seasons over the past couple of years, because it feels like the hidden gems of this season really were special and could be argued to be anime of the season in a lot of ways. That's how you know you had something special, where not only do you leave a show like Smile Down the Runway, you say, this feels great, it's a good stopping point, things didn't just magically happen, but it also has you craving either a season 2 or its source material. But it also just feels sad because you wish you had another 30 episodes. You don't say that too often, or at least I know I don't, but just this season, it's weird. I just feel more sad seeing anime go than usual because I'm gonna watch more anime. It's not like I have this like very select opinion on what I can like with anime. I can watch anything. That's why I started watching Runway modeling to begin with. I have no interest in it in the real world, but I know how stories can bring anything to life to make it feel just as exciting as any of the great sports anime out there. But it's going to be interesting to see what the future of this anime will look like. I had a blast reviewing this. This was an absolute treat. Not many of us really kept up with it, but hey, I loved reviewing it, and I appreciate anyone who watched the reviews alongside me. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on Smile Down the Runway down in the comment section below. You love it, you hate, your favorite moment, and how much are you hoping for a season 2 in the future? Let me know. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy, and remember to hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.